The other day, we talked about things we had gotten right in our photography journey, you and I. We had done a 2-part series. I think we did 2 each in each series for a total of 8. And we said, hey, you know what would be a great idea after last week's episode when we were ranty, or maybe providing a counterpoint of view. We said, hey, why don't we talk about things that we got wrong that provided lessons? Since we did things that we got right that provided lessons, let's talk about things we did wrong that also provided us lessons that maybe weren't ideal, maybe weren't the kind of outcome that we wanted in the moment, but were very useful in propelling us forwards for not doing that thing again or giving us crucial feedback.
Yeah, I think we got to do it to make it fair.
I think so.
We definitely...
The equilibrium, keep things in balance.
Yeah, sometimes on social media or podcasts, you hear of like all the wins. I think that's normal human nature to just talk about sometimes good stuff, but there's definitely been learning moments along the way. Let's call them learning moments, or some may know those as mistakes or screw ups. But definitely something worth talking about and getting into, I think.
All right. So that's what today is going to be. Things that Aaron and myself have done or not done that provided us a valuable lesson. So with that, I think you'll do 2 today. I'll do 2. We'll make it a 2-part series and let's get into it. You want to start? I'll start next week. What do you want to do?
Sure. I will start. I don't mind.
Okay.
Get into it.
First thing that you got wrong on your photography journey.
The first thing. Well, this is more reflective on
first of 100, right?
Yeah. There's a lot, but just reflective over the time. This has been a common theme lately.
Okay.
I do feel like I spent slightly too much time in the social media game versus really getting after certain things, thinking that that was the answer, or thinking that that would be the problem solver to the things that I was chasing or looking for. So going back, I think in the beginning, I definitely was hooked on this idea of, wow, I need to get more followers. I need to get more followers. A certain amount of followers opens up all these doors. And then slowly started to realize that it's not about that. It was more about, where are you directing your work? Where are you directing your talent, quote unquote, your pitches, your creative ideas? What are you trying to actually do with this stuff? And is the process really matching up with those end goals? So if my goal was just to have a great social media and make as many followers as possible, fine. I think that that's great. Work as hard as you can at social media and making as many followers as possible. If that's what makes you happy in this world, cool. I have nothing to say against that. But I think sometimes there's a mismatch between feeling like, if I do this with social media, then X, Y, and Z will start to happen. I'll get brand deals. I'll be famous. People will be knocking down my door for work. And I think I just realized pretty quickly that was a mistake or a fallacy in terms of my thinking and my process. And I probably spent many hours doing those kinds of things versus actually working on what I was trying to accomplish.
Which was, just to be clear?
I think early on, I realized that I felt competent enough to take my photography or pitching ideas, communication skills, whatever it is, to companies and get paid for work, whatever that may be. And at the time, I was figuring stuff out and trying a lot of things and saying yes to a lot of different things, or making pitches to a lot of different things as well. But that's where I started to get interested in. Not to mention, even on a personal passion side, was like wildlife and nature photography and editing and learning a bunch of that stuff, which, being on social media or trying to beat the algorithm or being tied to a schedule takes away from that as well. So in 2 different aspects, my craft, and then also feeling like, I think I can get paid for this hobby of mine, this passion of mine, and turning that into paid gigs. really spending a ton of time on social media and making posts and tailoring them and making sure the hashtags were perfect and the timing was perfect and trying to post daily and doing Instagram live and doing all the things to try to booster my social media. I think there's a good line to have with that. And I think sometimes it's easy to go too far in that direction. Again, if your real goals are elsewhere.
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple questions that we can dig into this a little more. I think this begs the question, okay, you're reflecting on this right now. How are you able to say that or know that I spent too much time on this rather than it was just time spent?
Yeah. Well, now it was just time spent. But I think looking back, it slowed down the process a bit of getting certain gigs or getting emails out or feeling burnt out with the process of being on social media and producing for social media when that production could have been used elsewhere. So let's just say I have 100 hours before I burn out dealing with photography stuff, before I am fried. If I'm spending 20 of those hours editing and posting and talking about photography on social media and connecting and talking to other people on that, it just leaves me with 80 hours left to do photography stuff. And I feel that now sometimes with what we do. Like, here's a funny story. My sister just went on a safari and she literally texts me. She's like, hey, they gave us a camera. Like, I have a USB of photos. Would you be able to edit some of them and just give me some good edits on some of the photos? I have no idea what I'm doing, and maybe put together a video of mine from all the clips that I have. And my initial reaction was like, oh my God, no. Like that was my gut feeling, because it's like I only have so many hours of photography stuff in totality before I'm just like, oh my, that's like too much this week. So I will do it for her, and I will help her through the process, of course. But my initial gut was like, ooh, like that's going to eat away from the client editing that I have to do, or that's going to eat away from the podcast that I have to and want to do. So I just feel like, looking back, a lot of that time spent got me to a place where I was like, I need a break from photography much quicker. And that maybe held me back from progressing as fast as I wanted to on those other certain goals.
Yeah. And then my second question, I said I had a couple, was what flipped the switch for you in terms of realizing, oh my goodness, maybe my time is best allocated elsewhere? You have to have that realization. And I don't know if that happened gradually for you or if it was sudden.
Honestly, I think it was our interview with Adam Capola.
Okay.
I bring him up a lot, but I just realized, like, the dude has 800 followers maybe, and he did back then and still does. And that's not a knock at all. He is full-time busy and taking in huge clients, and that's what he's doing. That's where he's spending his time and building his team around and producing that work all the time. Yeah. And I realized, oh, that's not just one path to photography success or stardom, if you will. Like, you don't need 10,000 followers to be super successful at what you do. And maybe, actually, looking at him, I said, maybe that's taking away, actually. And if he were to be spending that much time on his social media presence, I'm not sure he would have enough in the tank to do what he's doing. So
yeah, it's funny. I remember in that interview, he's like, I really got to get on there and posting more, and just kind of saying it willy nilly, like, I guess I should, but
yeah, almost an afterthought.
As an afterthought. It's not really a priority because I'm already doing so much.
Yeah. So, and what that meant to me was like years of creating clients, good relationships, keeping them, going back to clients, having repeat gigs, understanding licensing, understanding pricing, all that stuff that is a full education. I just with him, I was like, yeah, social media was taken away from that learning.
Yeah.
You can only do so much on here, I feel like. So again, it's a line. A lot of my successes have come from it. I try not to disparage it too much. I know I do sometimes. I just feel like there's a disconnect between what a lot of people, myself included, had thought that, oh, this will create this outcome.
Right. This is the path.
Yeah.
I think where there's a bit of a strife is people want to do what you just described, the Adam Capola thing, where the social media perhaps is not important and they have tons of gigs. Right? People want to be busy like that, working with high production clients and do those things. But at the same time, I feel like people want to tell everyone about it. It's this weird thing of, I want all this work that I'm doing to be seen to as many people as possible. And I guess you have to have a conversation with yourself, is how are you going to fill your photography bucket? Say you have 80 hours, hypothetically, how are you going to spend those before you're burnt out? Are you going to spend them entirely on your social media? Are you going to spend them entirely on writing emails and doing things behind the scenes? Are you going to have a blend of those two? Because when it comes to the social media is important to people because people want their work validated for whatever reason. I mean, it's a natural human need to feel like what we're contributing is important and relevant. And so I think it's tough for many people to just work in the shadows, because as even if we're working commercially, as artists, we want to share our work, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like this touches into the not enough concept. I feel like people have the impression that sharing to 200 people, 200 followers is like lame or something. I got to have more people that I share all this important stuff that I'm doing to. And that's going to be different for everyone. I mean, I think you've realized for yourself that, and I know a lot of the projects you've been working on, they don't see the light of day. Maybe a couple Telefunken reshares.
Yeah. And
I feel like maybe you're at a place where sharing that stuff doesn't matter. You don't care if the 20,000 you have see it or not. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I just think that maybe you have a little bit more of ego death for lack of a better term, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it comes with time. Like I was there. I 100% was there. I will admit that I was very into that growth and trying things and figuring it out and showing my work and getting praise and whatnot. And maybe the validation's there. Maybe the validation came with like, who knows the exact numbers, but you have 5 companies that paid you to do photography. Oh, people have bought a print. Oh, you've hung your stuff in a restaurant. Okay, enough.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. Yeah. It's your stack of undeniable proof. And perhaps your early stages of social media where Instagram and growing followers and getting people to comment "heater bro" on your pictures.
Mm-hmm. Love those.
Maybe that was part of the fuel that helped you build the confidence to be able to go out and message these brands and clients, because, hey, so many people have said I'm good. 8,000 people have followed me. Maybe that was part of a necessary part of your journey to be able to have the confidence to go out.
100%.
And then you realize, hey, okay, well, I have the skills. People have told me so. Now I've pitched a few companies. Sharing isn't that important anymore. So it sounds to me like maybe in the beginning, the sharing to social media was, I'm new to photography. I don't really have a ton of experience. Strangers tell me I'm good, so I can go out and spread my wings.
Yeah. And I think I've talked about the latest reel was about that rocket booster. In the beginning, I had stamina. I had stamina to sit at the computer and edit 10 photos, each photo individually. I could be there for hours and truly enjoy it. Right now, my honest stamina is like a complicated photo or one of my own wildlife photos is one photo. That's where my attention span like starts to fade. My eyes almost start to hurt. Like I just don't want to really sit there and do multiple photos. I will for a client. I will if it's something I got to get done. I will push through it. But in terms of want, back in the day, I would want to edit 10 photos from out one outing in the woods where I got a bunch of different looks. I would want to edit all 10 of them and save them and post them and come back to them and post more. Now it's different. And if it's like I have one feel good edit. I have one feel good edit in me, and I have this paying client that needs their stuff done. So am I going to do that one feel good edit to post on social media and then be burnt out for the work that I have to do? It's just sort of like a priority list that I'm balancing. When things are slow, I might post a photo every once in a while. I will be active on social media. I post things that I'm doing. I kind of use it more personally now than a personal brand, I suppose, of like trying to promote my work. Right. And it feels more balanced and more healthy to me at this point. And like we said, I think this is a good and bad. There's two sides to this sword where in the beginning, yes, it gave me the validation. Yes, it gave me the confidence to reach out. Yes, I met a lot of people. Yes, I met you. And here we are today. There's nothing I would change necessarily about it. However, maybe just the realization of finding your why and what you really want to happen with whatever passion you're doing. And then how much time are you spending in the process of growing your social media versus doing the actual thing, having an audit of that early on to make sure they're aligned.
Yeah, I would agree with this too. Personally, I think also subconsciously, I felt like posting Monday, Wednesday, Friday, commenting on people's stuff in the explore page and doing all this stuff was busy work. It was a way to tell myself, okay, you're doing the thing, you're grinding, you're hustling. You know, I like to use the term, it's like organizing your sock drawer to trick yourself that you're being productive. That's just not use to your time. So I feel like subconsciously for me in the beginning phases, what you're talking about was a way to feel like I was making moves and being productive when I could have, again, I'm not regretting time spent on there based on all the things you said, people met, experience, all those things. But perhaps it was a guise or a distraction from, or I was trying to convince myself, oh, you're really, doing all you can. You're really hustling on there and convincing myself this is the way, this is the path. When, like you've mentioned, there's many different paths to whatever your version of success is with your camera. And for you, it was, hey, I want to make some money from this hobby. I want to become a quote professional. Right.
Yeah.
So
and just there was a second point too. I think I really realized that it was all a facade. And when Instagram started promoting Reels, and it just was like I've mentioned this before. It was an on switch with like, if you did a reel that caught some traction, you would all of a sudden get a flood of followers. It made no sense. It was not like just a constant random sort of following and people liked your work. It was like they turned on a machine. And within 8 minutes, you'd get 300 followers and then it would be turned off. And it's like, oh, I just got so many followers, but I don't know if my thing was broken or anyone experienced that, but I was like, this is just, they're like feeding the dopamine and it's not necessarily real. Like there's a disconnect between real connection and just numbers happening, which is making us excited. And I think to me, that was a little bit of a turnoff where I was like, I think this is because I'm doing reels, not because my work is good. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I need to like pursue this, what felt like fake followers at the time.
Were they?
Who knows? But I can't imagine that like in a span of 8 minutes, it's just like on my little heart thing, you'd be like follower, like because of a reel, just like a random time. It wasn't like every, couple minutes for days, someone followed it and liked your work. It was just like, literally, it felt like they turned an on switch on and just went and then turned it off. Like that's really what it felt like on some of those reels that performed well. And when that first started and everyone was having like this huge growth and was posting reels and getting away from photography and showing huge growth, something felt weird about it. Something felt fishy about it. And I feel like that too was like, okay, like these feel like fake numbers.
Yeah, maybe. Were you part of the bonuses?
Yeah, back in the day.
That was very lucrative for many people.
Yeah, for a little while.
In terms
like
of
crazy income. lucrative.
That's one of my bonus ones. One of my regrets was getting I got the notification says, "You want to be part of bonuses?" And I said, "This is just stupid fad X." And then fast forward a year later, I've know tons of creators who were making thousands, like 5 figures from posting reels. And this was when you post anything that's relatively good, it's going to explode. So one of my regrets, I know we've just bashed spending too much time on social media. However, that was a time when I wish I had hopped on a trend like that, because A, it would have gotten me into being excited about video sooner, which took me until recently to get excited about. B, since I am also interested in making income with my camera, I wish that I have pounced on or had seen that opportunity. Oh my God, bonuses, as opposed to just dismissing it and being a cynic and skeptical and saying this is stupid. I should have noticed, like, okay, if the Instagram is personally messaging me about this, it's going to be kind of a big deal. And it was, we just spoke about efficiency, spending your time for a good return. Back then, like I said, you posted anything and you got thousands of followers. Not that that's important, but it definitely doesn't hurt you, as we've talked about in episodes, as social proof. I mean, if a few videos could have paid me a couple $1,000s and boosted my numbers for, a good video.
Yeah. Why
did I say no to that? That's just kind of, it seemed like a free lottery ticket at the time that I threw in the trash. So what I learned from that, this is a bonus. This isn't my one. What I've learned from this is to not dismiss changing trends as fads so quickly in this space. Of course, there are some that come and go. We don't really need to talk about NFT mania.
That or guides on Instagram. Remember the
guides? But I think don't dismiss them entirely. Do some research. Don't just be a cynic and be like, stupid, dumb. I'm not doing that. Think about the trajectory, not even just of social media. Just it was a good lesson for things in general. Pry more. What could this be? What could this do for me? How could this serve me? Is this worth the time? Where is there any value in this being a catalyst for me, for growing me as a professional, as a videographer? So that was one of my little bonus ones, and you segued it for me.
There you go. Let's hear your real one.
My real one. Okay.
Real regret.
I don't even really want to say regret.
Regret.
I don't even know if I want to say that. It's just something you're like, took me so damn long to learn this. But and I still struggle with what I'm about to say sometimes, and that's why I text you like I did yesterday, just to stay sane. And we talk about it on the show all the time, but it's harder when your emotions are involved. And yes, I know that I'm being suspenseful here, but the amount of times I have priced too low because I really wanted the gig. It seemed like good money at the time. Maybe not fair money, but good, great. More than what most people get paid hourly. Do the work, see how the assets were used, see how much business they generate, and then being resentful with myself, knowing that I should have charged way more. And instead of looking at the project and the client in a good light, I'm just bitter about it bitter at myself for you stupid ding dong. That was worth triple what you paid. Look at the value. It's landed them X number of clients. Probably it's being used in a social campaign, etc. Why were you so scared to price higher? And it multiple times I've found myself overcome with having the gig for a price is better than not having it at all, which is a very difficult hurdle to get over. And I think what's helped, a couple things have helped, is knowing that if you price something high, there's 100 other clients you can go and message. I'm not trying to be, gross about it and just saying it's a numbers game, but part of it is you can always, there's always another bus every 15 minutes, right? So knowing that, okay, if this one, not getting too emotionally attached to the one, pitch you're working on, knowing that if it doesn't work out for your fair price, that you can repeat this process somewhere else with somebody else. So that helped, just reminding myself of abundance. And then what I literally did to you yesterday, texting somebody who is not emotionally involved in this prospect or in this desired outcome of yours, and being like, hey, what did I say to you? I said, hey, here's the details. Yeah. Here's how many hours I've sunk into this. Here's how many hours it'll probably take. Here's what they'll be used for. And I said, based on last week's episode, not looking for the blueprints here, just looking for the first number that comes to your head. Because I want to see if it's in line with mine. And of course, I didn't tell you. And then you said your number, and I happened to be way low. And then I thought about your number, and I said, yeah, that makes more sense. And I ended up quoting a lot higher because I was able to, based on our conversation, kind of remove myself as a stakeholder in it and just see it for what it was. And it was the exact advice I would give somebody else if it weren't me who was emotionally attached to the situation. So I guess sub point to this is learning that if you can find a way to detach your emotions when you're trying to get business, that's a good idea, because then you won't potentially way undercharge simply because you just want the job.
Yeah, that's a good one and a hard one. It really is. I think your text to me was great in terms of spelling out all the points I wanted to see: time, effort, what it'd be used for, etc. And it was very quick for me to be like, I think it would be in this range, giving all of that. There was no real hemming and hawing because, again, it was just a kind of a black and white time thing for me and what the assets would be used for. And here's where we are. In terms of personal experience with that, I think we're different in a certain way, which helps me. I mean,
I already know what you're going to say. You're like, if it doesn't work out for you, you still have your full-time job. You're like, oh, whatever.
So
this is gravy for me.
I
get my steak and potatoes without gravy, or I get them with gravy.
So my full-time job allows two things. One, a full-time job, and second, limited time. So the trade-off is if you say no, oh my God, I get an hour or 2 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours to myself or to do something else, which I don't have a ton of. And you can't trade time. If you say yes, I'm getting paid for it. And that helps in my bargaining chips. I feel a little differently. I feel more on your side of the fence during the summer when I'm not working full time. And I would love to have more gigs, but I don't get paid technically throughout the summer. It's a 10-month contract in the school. So that has a little bit more urgency, and I have the time now also. So right. Sure, I'll price low or I'll come down or whatever it may be to make this happen. So I can relate to both sides. Right. I think it is that balancing of like, sometimes a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush to counter your part of like, okay, their budget's lower than I want, but it's still a budget. It's still going to pay half my rent for the month or whatever it may be. And sometimes you have to say, X, Y, and Z, or diminish the deliverables, or change the value, change the licensing, whatever it may be to like make the project work where you both feel good about it, at least mostly.
It's tough because, let's say hypothetical numbers, you quote $4,000 and they're like, we only have 2. Now you're in a spot where you go, am I going to say no to 2 where it's either 0 or 2? And this is what happens. So then you say, yes, I'll do it for 2,000. And then you reflect on the amount of work you've done and how well the project was executed, hopefully. And you see how much business they, I guess you don't get to directly see, but you can make assumptions. And you go, that's unfair. That's unfair. Like, my value is way more than what I charge. And then you get mad at yourself. So I guess the question is being that upset with yourself worth the $2,000 in this scenario, or is it worth not being frustrated with yourself and having no income from it? So
yeah. And I think a good question to ask yourself is like, again, separating it. Hey, let's call it one day's work. I don't know, what the projects are necessarily, but let's call it one day's work for $2,000. At the end of the day, I spent one of my days doing this work for $2,000, and they used it and were very successful. Cool. And in trying to be like, okay, like I was happy at the time. Maybe I'm getting a little greedy because they did really well. Would I want to give money back if they failed? If I happen to know they got nothing in return for that $2,000, would I feel bad and be like, here's $1,000 back. I'll just take the money for my time because you didn't get anything from it, versus, they made 20,000 from that 2,000. I feel like I deserve more. So kind of separating from their results has made things easier, I think, for me to say, like, where am I happy with what's going on here?
Yeah. A concept I've been toying with too is, I've been thinking about a way to put this into contracts where it's, okay, here's what it costs to do what I've outlined. If you use these for any ad campaigns, we can track, the web traffic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say an Instagram ad of your photo leads to a website, leads to a call, leads to a booking or a sale. I've been debating putting in the contract a royalty on that process as a way to, I haven't done this yet, but it's something I've been considering of how to structure in a deal. Because then if the assets you provided bomb, at least you got paid for your time. If they do really well and you undercharged by mistake, at least you're covered. I mean, 2% of $100,000 in sales is great, especially if you charged like $500. And perhaps it's a leveraging tool, perhaps it's I'm not suggesting everybody runs out and undercharges and puts royalties into their contracts because A, they may not even use the stuff for targeted ads. And I guess there is no B, but it's a way to, I think that's just a way to say that I'm confident these things I'm going to deliver for you are going to kick ass because I'm willing to do this for less, not a low amount, but like less than some professionals may charge you. And when you go and run ads on these, if we can track the funnel, I get paid well if my assets are good, essentially.
Yeah.
Barring other variables such as how well you execute your campaign. But I mean, it's that classic. It's that classic example of when you pitch an idea. Hey, if this goes well, I'll give you all the credit, and if it doesn't, I'll take all the blame. Have you heard that one before?
Yeah.
It's a great way to make things happen for yourself. If you're confident,
yeah,
I'll let you have all the glory if this does well, and if it fails, it's entirely my fault. How many people will say no to that if it's a low risk idea, even a high risk idea? I guess that's the point, to be able to get yourself in the door with confidence without needing to say much.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's something worth investigating. And
I'm sure people do this. I'm sure Coppola does this, but
yeah, or renegotiates if it's, third use parties, like added, not dictated in the original contract.
Yeah. I think what you said too about having having another source of income too is helpful in alleviating some of the stress and creating a more abundance mindset. Like I've been doing part-time online work remotely, just as like a little income booster. And I will say I felt a little bit more at ease when writing that email. It's always my least favorite part of the process is here is the dollar amount.
Yeah.
And I think it does ease a little bit of tension.
For sure. It's not fun, and it's not fun to get the emails back. They're like, whoa, I mean, I've gotten this, so-and-so does it for this much. And, putting comparison and the tricks that the business will do.
Yeah.
Here's what I think in my mind. The business wants the cheapest price. They want the highest return on investment. You want a fair price. So you guys are going to be fighting.
Yeah, of course. It's part of, it's natural.
And if they're like, yeah, let's do that for that much, you probably were too low.
Yes. Like shit.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, man, when you're like, oh, should it be 10 or should it be 8? I'll just go with 8. And they're like, yep. And you're like, wow, I could have at least tried 10 and then gone down to 8.
That's what this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So it's like, maybe I'm wrong in this too, but I always believe that there's a conversation to be had. Like, hey.
Yeah, assume a conversation is going to take place rather than just getting a yes.
Yeah, or getting a no, or getting a ghost, or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I assume they're like, hey, well, we wanted you, but that's a little bit much. And okay, well, let's be honest. What budget do you have? I promised X, Y, and Z. I'll just do X. How about that? We can cut Z. It's not a huge need for you. That was just extra. I was there. I had the capability to do it. And I tend to price things based on me being there and all the capabilities that I can do while I'm there. I want to work while I'm there. I don't want to spend a whole day for a 10 photo package and get paid, whatever it is. I'd rather say like, hey, let me do 50 photos because I'm there for 8 hours. And while there's break or lunch, I'll do a drone shot of outside. I'll video some, like doing all the things that I possibly could do in that time to make that price and value worthwhile.
And then if they're like, yeah, but we really only just want photos, then that's why it doesn't make sense to charge per photos. I can't tell you how many people have asked, what does it cost per photo? I'm like, it's not that simple. I mean, how far am I driving? How, what are we using these for?
Yeah.
It's not a per photo thing. There's so many different elements. Bonus tip. I've found that this works. When you're putting your dollar amount in an email, your quote, put the dollar amount in green font.
Ooh.
It's like your whole email is black text, or it's white if you use dark mode on Mac. Put the dollar text in green.
Green means go.
Green means positive.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
Next, you.
Yeah, with that, you mentioned certain things, and I think this is an offshoot of what you were just talking about. But writing very clear can be simple, but contracts and having them signed and having the responsibility of both parties to sign on the dotted line what's about to happen and what's going to happen, and spelling out things as you learn them and as you experience things. From the beginning, maybe some of that cavalier not caring about the amount or what we're doing spills into a ultimate trust of like, we did that. We talked about it in email.
You seem nice.
We have a conversation. They're not going to screw me. If they screw me, they're not going to use the photos, or I'll have a problem with that. I'll deal with it then. But there's been a few times where things got a little bit messy, and I'm glad from not so messy experiences that I learned like, oh, contracts are important. And just having I think it shows you as a business, as a serious person, like these are my intentions. This is what we've discussed. It's all written here. We're both clear about it, correct? And they have to sign it off, leaves little argument, less argument. There can be issues still, there can be disagreements, but if it is spelled out really well, it does, I feel like, help the trust process of, hey, they're invested. They agreed to my payment schedule. We're on schedule. If they don't pay me, I have this contract. It's not as just simple as that, of course, but it does help to feel like, okay, they've read what the expectations are. They've signed it. Here we go.
Right. They know what they're getting into before I even begin.
Yeah. And losing some of that, like, we'll casually figure it out. I trust you for it.
Yeah.
Now I can develop that with clients.
After the fact, though.
After the fact. And Telefunken, who I've worked with, is the best experience I've had with people and communication and payment and creativity and project and freedom. It's been awesome. We had contracts in the beginning. Now it's more of email conversations back and forth. And if something's wrong, like, I try to fix it. And if they do something wrong, we'd have a conversation and we try to fix it for next time.
Yeah. And I'm sure you'd still make a contract, though, if they like signed you up for a big campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would. I think more to just truly understand, for me, even not a trust thing, but like, this is what we're agreeing on, right? Like, this is what we're doing.
That's what it is half the time. Whoa, I thought you meant this.
Yeah.
Not this.
Yeah.
I thought I had to pay you at the end of the project, not in intervals.
Right.
Right. Well, how do I know you're going to pay me it all at the end? Well, we don't have all the money right now. And then you bicker.
Mm-hmm.
It's like details like that. I agree 100%.
Yeah. So that's something I've skipped, and a few times I wish I had not.
Good practice to do with low dollar amounts as well.
Yeah, I think it's great all the time. And it doesn't have to be like a 10-page document with like legal jargon, but even just a 1-page PDF of expectations from you and then expectations from them, and how you want the stuff being used and what you agreed on, and just everything, kind of the main bullet points listed out, where they have to take it to the boss or sign it themselves and send it back. It is your first taste of how responsible and responsive they will be to this project. Do they get it back to you within a day, ready to go? Or do you have to ask 4 times for the contract to be signed back? Pretty good, pretty good data point.
Yeah. I like to do 2 different documents. I like to do the statement of work, which is, here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to deliver it. Here's what you're going to pay me. And then I like to do a separate licensing agreement that just says, here's how you can use these. And it's 2 documents. So one's a statement of work. The other is how you can use these. The statement of work says what each of us are exchanging, and the licensing is how you are allowed to use them, just to be crystal clear. That's my method. I don't know if that's the best way, but I just find it gets kind of choppy if it's all in one page. And maybe it's annoying. I'm having to have you sign 2 things, but if you're serious about it, then, it's an extra 30 seconds of work.
Yeah.
So
that's my number 2.
Interesting. Speaking about getting screwed over, I get to tell a story I haven't told in a while, I think, about when my photo was stolen for a book cover.
Yeah, it's exciting.
One. I actually posted a full-length post on our Reddit, on our subreddit, Photographer Mindset. You should go check that out if you're a Redditor listening. It's a good way for you to post some scenarios and have people in that subreddit answer, or myself and Aaron. So go check that out. We'll put a link to it in the episode description. But I posted it there, and I'm getting ahead of myself because it's my tip or my thing that I did that I learned from, or I wish that thing that I got wrong was, I don't know how many people are still using this platform. Hopefully I don't get a defamation lawsuit here, but don't use Unsplash. Don't use websites where you can create a profile, submit your photos in exchange for being promised tons of exposure, and give up your licensing of your images. That's insane. I used to, in the very beginning stages, post on Unsplash all the time because you're naive and you don't know any better. They dupe you. You get millions of views. They throw out these kind of like bogus awards, like, oh, photo of the year. And you're essentially just giving the rights to your images to be used in the most insane commercial ways. One of them being like for book covers.
Anything, right?
Anything really, which is just, I can't believe that it's predatory. It is. I don't know if there's people listening who use this platform or a platform like it, who have it's contributed to your career. Please write me. Please. At some point, you're going to get ripped off like I did. And this is my fault before I tell this story. It has a good ending. This is my fault and a huge lesson for me. And fortunately, I was, with help of legal aid, I was able to dipsy doodle through this and have an okay outcome for myself. So, maybe this was 2018, 2019. I was emailed by the assistant of an author, a very well-known author in a foreign country. And they provided a link to an image that was on my Instagram page. Right in the email, they said, we'd like to use this image for a cover of the cover of a book. How much would it cost to be able to use this? What are your terms, right? And if you're already familiar with the story, forgive me, but maybe there's some new people listening who would like to hear it. So I, being completely inexperienced in this, I think at the time said like, oh yeah, like $750 and credit on the inside of the book, right? Hindsight, it should have been thousands, right? Yeah. This is a very well-known author, somebody going on talk shows in their country. Very big author. So first of all, I was flattered, which was, I couldn't believe that was happening. And I fell into the trap of what we talked about in my previous point where I didn't want to be too high. $750 for a book cover, extremely low for that kind of author. So they said, this price is too high. We weren't expecting that, which looking back at it now, I'm like laughing. And then, I think I can't remember. It's been so long. Maybe I convinced them somehow to go with the price. And they said, okay, well, we're going to talk to the publisher and get approval, and then we'll get back to you. And then months went by, and I didn't hear anything. I followed up, no response. Followed up, no response. Then one day I was like, you know what? I'm curious. I had like a 2% inkling that I would see my photo on the book cover. I was like, there's no way they've used it, but I'm just gonna go check. Checked it out. Sure as shit. Right on there.
Jeez.
And I think that was the last time remember I asked you in a podcast where I was like, when was the last time that you were irate or 10 out of 10 mad?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen to me often. I think this is the last time this happened was 5-6 years ago. I put my fist through a wall. Wow. I was so mad on her, like YouTube, on talk shows promoting the book, talking about it, like a huge deal, doing huge promo. And I had been paid nothing. I was like, what the hell? Okay.
Crazy.
So I kept emailing my correspondence, the assistant, nothing. They kept ignoring me. And I was like, you know what? I ain't going to lie down.
No.
I ain't going to lie down. I'm assuming their attitude was like, what's little Canuck going to do about it up in the middle of nowhere in Canada, right?
Right.
So I went to every single social media platform. I filed copyright infringement on every single piece of content that had that book in it. All the YouTube videos, all the Twitter posts, all the Facebook posts, all the Instagram posts.
Nice.
They all got taken down. YouTube accounts suspended. This is in the middle of huge promo for this book, right? Then I get an email back from the lawyer of the publishing company. I'm not allowed to give details just because that was in my settlement, but said, "Hey, Mr. Seth Macy, you're being sued for $500,000 US."
Stomachache.
For well, actually, I had filed a lawsuit. This was a counter lawsuit. My lawyer at the time had advised me to do all the copyright infringement claims that I did. And so they countersued me for $500,000. So I can say that at cocktail parties that I've been countersued for $500,000 before. I read that though, and I'll tell you what, I just laughed. At the time, I had maybe $5,000 to my name. Good luck. Like, what do I have to lose? You're a giant publishing company in the middle of a book tour, and I'm nobody. Okay, yeah. So essentially, if you want all your stuff back and you want your YouTube account unsuspended, we're gonna have a chat.
Yeah.
Right.
I countersue you for $1 million.
Bajillion.
Go back and forth.
So, how this ties into Unsplash, right? What ended up happening is in my email correspondence with the author's assistant, they had said, "Okay, we agree to these terms." Right? That was in writing, which constitutes as like a written contract. We agree to these terms, and it was in relation to the link they had provided of the photo from my Instagram. Now, I had that same photo on Unsplash, one of these websites where you can post stuff and people can use it for free in exchange for all that junk exposure I talked about that I was a victim to. Still my fault, but I fell prey to it. They had realized that they could go there, get the image for free, not have to pay me anything, not even have to credit me, and they could make however much money off the book they wanted. Obviously, the content of the book is what sells, but the cover is the first thing you look at, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my lawyer found out about this and was like, "Oh God," because he didn't know about this. And what ended up happening was we ended up settling because, thank God, they never put the link to the Unsplash image in the email correspondence thread ever. It was only to the image from Instagram. And they had said in the email correspondence, "We agree to these terms." So I was able to countersue for breach of contract rather than copyright infringement.
Interesting.
But had one of those variables gone the other direction, had they put the link to Unsplash, or had they just used different verbiage and not said "we agree to this," these terms, I would have been out of luck.
Wow, that is.
And I would have had to have sat there and thought about all the money. I didn't make a ton from the settlement, but I think it proved a point. I was proud that I stood up for myself.
Yeah.
I got more than what I asked for. And she had to send 2 copies of the book just as a extra middle finger. Both signed. So
Signed.
It's funny. I think somewhere in it says like best wishes. I had to have it sent to the lab to make sure it didn't have anthrax.
Yeah.
I guess the lesson is stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to virtue signal, but stand up for yourself. Don't get taken advantage of in this industry. Be very careful about where you're going to share the work and the licensing terms. And charge more than $750 for a book cover if it's a well-known author, even if they're international.
Yeah, that's the number one point.
So that's the most insane thing that's ever happened to me with my photography. And to try not to get countersued for $500,000.
Yeah, those things are it's important to realize and read all the little check boxes and all the apps that you join and all the things,
All the things.
all the things that you were posting your work again for this drug of exposure, right? And then it sets up for this opportunity for things to go wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's wow, what a lesson, and what a lesson to wake up and see your book with the cover on it when nothing was agreed on, and have to untangle like where did this go wrong and get to that conclusion. Like,
Yeah, and I should have asked for more advice. I should have leaned on some people. There's some more lessons in this. Why did I not ask somebody? I didn't have the podcast running at the time. I didn't really know a ton of people in this industry. I didn't know what I didn't know. This is why I'm talking about it in this episode, because it was a huge lesson and lots of mistakes made that will never be made again. And I hope that people listening don't make that kind of mistake, because you post your work in places like that where the terms are wishy-washy or there's a chance for you to get burned. You're gonna, at some point, you're going to get really screwed over and you're going to be really upset with yourself, or you won't. And you're going to be glad you listened to this, if this is where you heard not to do that.
Another example, and there's two of us here, and this has kind of happened to both of us, is last summer my mom showed me a well-known, one of the biggest Connecticut magazines, talking about black bears, and my photo was used for the main article and I think the back cover of the magazine. And I was like, what?
Yeah, and it was fairly licensed.
Yep. So through a photo app where you can just check a box and say like, hey, do you want to license this photo out there? You'll get paid. People can purchase your photo in certain ways and use it in certain ways, and you might make great money with it. I was like, sure. I just checked off a thing for some of my photos. And I went back to see what happened. You can see the contracts or the sales. And literally that photo was sold for, I think, 78 cents.
It was 92, if I remember.
92. Correctly. I made a post about it. It was under $1. It was licensed for
a magazine full of advertisers. And
yeah.
It just goes to show, like, you don't have control over the terms of the licensing, even if it says, hey, you can make money licensing your photos. And like, I know we promote a lot of platforms like 500px where there's licensing. We had the ViewBug people on. You can, use those apps if you like the interface of them. Nobody's forcing you to license stuff, right?
Yeah.
So just be careful.
Yeah. So that was just surprising. And I was like, well, I probably would have gotten more than 92 cents if I had a conversation with someone or they saw the photo and wanted it. On the other hand, my photo is in a magazine. So that's kind of a cool little check mark. And I'm not sure it would have happened otherwise, but nonetheless, it was one of those moments of like,
did you message the magazine? Make something out of it? Did you message the editor of the magazine? Maybe not fight about it, but just maybe make an opportunity for yourself. Like, hey, nice that you licensed this. I didn't know. Like, you guys must have used whatever platform it was on.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an opportunity to work directly together in the future.
I did not. Maybe I should have, but I mean, it was
angry
a learning
and you're mad. It's tough.
Yeah, it was a learning experience where I went on the app and unchecked those things, So it was it's one of those moments where it's like, I've had a few where it's like, it was almost like a joke. Like, your photo was licensed for 48 cents and you don't know where it's going to or what it's used, but you're like, okay, I'm making bank. This is funny.
You just need 400,000 years interest to be like, to make a year's salary.
When it's,
probably less than that. Interest is crazy, but
when it then hits you, like right in front of your face on a real magazine, you're like, wait a minute, how do we get to here? And it's those little checks that you don't really think about. Like, oh yeah, people can license if they want, not a big deal. But then in actuality, you're like, oh, hey,
yeah,
I'm proud of that photo, and it was used in a way, and I think that's the thing. That's the point. Just know what you're doing. And
if you don't know what you're doing, I think take a minute, have a pause. I think I was just swept up in the excitement of how cool, my story was. I'm like, oh, this is, and I needed to take a knee, like take a second, right? Take a second, ask somebody for some guidance. And not rush through things and not be so arrogant that you think you can just figure it out. I don't remember feeling overwhelmingly confident, but obviously I thought that I had the capability to navigate that situation when I didn't. And I could have prevented myself a lot of stress. I mean, I almost wish that just the photo was never used on the cover and just nothing ever happened from it because it was so stressful. I mean, I'm laughing at it now, $500,000, but it's not fun to get that.
No.
Even though at the same time I knew like, okay, I have nothing. I'm poor as hell. Like, what are you?
Good luck, but still.
But I did write about it in the subreddit if people are interested in checking that out. And I'd love for people to contribute to that if they have some stories or questions, because it's an easy place for us to answer things. So
yeah,
that's in the episode description. That's our episode for today, man.
Cool.
Part 1.
Easy peasy.
All right. Till next time.
Don't make mistakes or do. And
don't make any mistakes. Be a perfect human.
Yeah. Don't screw up.
Nope. Make them what you're going to and, debrief.
Yeah.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.